Let's rip it.
Yours, Dante?
Yep. My good, or is there like a glare?
Oh, no, you look terrible.
There's a little glare, but whatever. It's fine. There's like a little thing of light. You can't do anything about it. Can't do anything about it. It's fine. Okay, where are we at? So, what? Dante, you obviously believe that the Boeing guy who mysteriously died a minute before his his court date was murdered. John thinks he actually killed himself.
This is the problem with the internet. This is what's crazy. I've become the conspiracy theorist for just believing logical things happened. Everyone else alive thinks everything is some big thing, and I'm the one I'm the crazy uncle when I'm going, I don't know, that probably makes sense to me.
What and why does it make sense to you? What's the details that make sense to you?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Kevin. Dante, why don't you give your details first?
Okay.
All right, I will say this.
Not a good start.
Listen,
a good
asshole.
start.
What do you think it's going to be? Let me say this. I listened to the rundown yesterday. Nate was texting me while you were recording. Of course, Feidelberg thinks this guy killed himself. Blah, blah. He kind of spoiled it for me. So I watched the rundown expecting you to just be your typical contrarian self. But you surprised me because you actually did a fair amount of research. You read
Bro, I read all the things I talk about.
No, that's not true. But recently,
Most of the things I talk about. If I have a strong opinion on something, I probably have done a little
especially
research.
recently, he's been Johnny Research. He's come up with receipts of all sorts of things.
Cited some facts that I was like, I'm surprised John knew that. I could tell that you read up on it. Now, that said, I just think you're going against the grain so that you can sit there and be like, everyone's crazy.
But it's not my fault that the grain has flipped and become everything's a conspiracy.
No, you want us to think that, but
what do you mean I want you to think it? You're not the fucking punk rock guy who doesn't believe what everyone believes. Everyone believes that.
Yeah, you're now the majority. Yeah.
Well, dude, this is so blatantly obvious.
It's so not. It's so not.
Why? Wait, okay, can I get some details? Because
Yes.
I saw only the headline, and I was like, yeah, that dude did not kill himself because this is too suspect, but I don't know the details.
Okay, so let's break it down real quick.
Because I do tend to lean Dante's way. We all know that.
Yes. So first of all, this is year 7 of this lawsuit. Seems crazy to wait 7 years to kill a guy. Okay? Second of all, he was suing them for $1 million. Boeing, it probably makes more sense just to settle than get all this bad press. Because $1 million to Boeing is literally nothing. Right? He was suing not about these plane crashes or anything like that. He was suing about the factory, the conditions in the factories,
Right.
And those, also that was for Boeing 787s, not 737s, which have crashed a few times. This has
2-3 times, you know.
already been through the court system, which he lost. This is him taking it to a second court. It's an appeal. So why wouldn't you kill him before the verdict on the first one?
Okay, now this
also
case closed.
Also, his wife died of cancer last year. He's been struggling with that since. He killed himself in his car in the parking lot of a hotel. Not really where you do very clandestine murders. Also, it's an orange Dodge Ram. And
who wants to go out on
he
that?
was meeting with somebody. Obviously,
right in the parking lot of a hotel where people are constantly going in and out.
Where he was like basically
staying.
What do they call it?
Or maybe he decided to kill himself and didn't want to wake up at the hotel with a gunshot.
No, but you're leaving out the like major fact that he was supposed to go home
the next day,
back to wherever he's from, Arkansas, and the Boeing attorneys told him, no, we need you to stay one more day. We have to question you for one more day.
Okay. So
he pushed his trip back one more day, and boom, bang, he's dead.
Beautiful. That's a very common thing in depositions. And if you were this incredibly clandestine organization, wouldn't you not have this huge red flag? Wouldn't you just let him go home and kill him on the street somewhere?
Well, the other thing too is this isn't simply a civil trial. This is also tied into the Department of Justice. Their like pretty big investigation, which they're finally fucking doing on Boeing, because every week it's another story. Now, I agree with you. I think if it does make sense if they wanted to kill him, like why wait until now? Why wouldn't they?
And why not just let him go home? Why have this huge gaping why? That's weird. Like, you can kill this guy anyway.
I think they are sending a message and making an example out of this guy, because I think this is the tip of the iceberg. I think this gets way worse for Boeing. I think.
See, this is heavy. This is conspiracy. It's not quantifiable. It's just like, oh well, if they didn't do this, bad stuff would have come out.
No, I'm saying.
Why in 7 years has he not said all his bad things
over the summer? I think a lot of these planes are going to be grounded. I think air travel is going to be an absolute shit show, more so than it is already in the summer. And I think Boeing has a real fucking huge mess on their hands that they're going to have to try to clean up. And I think silencing this guy, if you read the New York Post article where they interviewed all the people that refused to go on record, saying, yeah, we basically work in a fucking like Nazi labor camp. We can't speak out. We don't want anyone to fucking know we're unhappy because.
Bro, that could be Barstool employees. That's every employee ever.
Nah, man. If you watch that,
do you think if you interviewed some Barstool employees off the record, they wouldn't say the same thing?
That's your office. But no, if you watch that Downfall documentary, it's crazy. Back when they started in Seattle, it was like, it was a fucking remarkable company that everyone took pride in working. It was like everyone felt like they were contributing to something, and they were.
Again, this sounds a lot like Barstool.
Douglas comes in, and it was like when McKinsey comes to town, they strip the whole thing down, move everything to Chicago, take all the fucking people that actually know.
Bro, you're describing Barstool Sports. You're describing Barstool Sports to a T.
I thought the Chicago thing was a joke. When you said Chicago, I was like, I get it.
You're just describing Barstool Sports.
It was a good company that people were proud of until it grew too big. They took everything to Chicago and it all went to shit. Yeah. There's never been another company like that.
People think it's a Nazi camp. They're scared to speak out against the fucking leadership. You're describing Barstool.
As a matter of fact, somebody get me a fucking. I'm gonna kill myself right now.
My brain is fucked because right. Jesus, what a blog that would make. Damn, a pussy to write it,
dude. You read a whole blog describing all those things, and at the end, it'd be like, "That was Barstool Sports." Period. Published. Nobody would even know the fucking difference between the two things you're describing, Dante.
Okay, so according to this metaphor, who's the whistleblower and who's the hitman that takes them out?
Clemmer's the whistleblower, and who would be the hitman?
Francis.
Yeah, the craziest fucking guy who's. I mean, Francis definitely murdered somebody. We know that. It wasn't a hitman, but he killed somebody. Goodness gracious, we'll talk about that
too.
The
psychopath with blood currently on his hands, probably him.
He's fucking. He's not all right up there. He could easily kill somebody.
Oh,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean that very exceptionally lovingly. I like that about Francis. There's a little sense of murder right there.
He would tell you.
Oh, he'd be an amazing hitman. Amazing. He could separate business from personal, no problem.
He's the guy. He's like American Psycho. Like he's the guy who, like, you know, he would put on latex gloves and go kill a homeless man in the street and then be like, okay, I'm done. You know, he's
he wouldn't take those gloves off. He'd use that fucking blood to jerk off. Oh my God. Yes, dude. Jesus. I was thinking this is too far and I would say it anyway.
Yep, you did. It was too far. You were correct and you did it anyway. I kind of, Dante.
Kevin, as somebody who is just not invested one way or the other, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, we kind of had this conversation the other day about Kate Middleton. I tend to lean tinfoil hat, but it's exactly what I said about Kate Middleton. There's so many people now, or at least they're the vocal minority now, that I'll be like, yo, I think there's something up with Kate Middleton. And then I get lumped in with people who are just like grasping at straws and making ridiculous shit up. And I'm like, whoa. I didn't say that. I just think that like something's up and the timing is off with the queen, or ascending to be queen and all that shit, And all of a sudden that turns into, I'm saying what these wackadoos are. This one on a headline, I saw it. If I was not, in a depression bout right now, I probably would have made a 1 Minute Man about it, spewing off all this shit without doing any of that research. But all of that shit, all that research, that's not like an Epstein situation. Like we finally caught him and there's finally going to be a court case and we can't allow that to happen. Everything already happened.
Yeah.
That's the main smoking gun here, pun intended. Or I guess he didn't kill himself that way. But like,
no, he did.
Oh, with a gun?
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, pun intended. I think if there's already years worth of litigation and a decision already levied, there's nothing
for
there.
$1 million for
$1
Boeing.
million.
That's nothing.
But wait, why didn't they just be like, here's the money? Go
Because
away?
that's like the standard, you
the other
bleed
thing
someone
that I'm
out till they
waiting
can't
for,
afford the.
and
That's
I wish fucking these journalists, dude. They're terrible. They're absolutely terrible at their job. RFK Jr., when this guy got suicided, tweeted out that Boeing over the last 12 years has gone out of their way to make this guy's life a living hell and destroy him.
If you want to tell
litigation.
me Boeing's responsible for his death, that's a different story. Sure, that they've been employing a pretty standard legal practice where you bleed out the little man until he's got nothing left, which is probably what happened here. He spent all his fucking money on legal fees, realized he probably wasn't going to win this case again. His wife died last year. He's like, fuck this. I'm going to kill myself in an orange Dodge Ram.
Mm-hmm.
And that, if responsibility is completely different than doing it yourself.
Well, I hate that you're like making sense and being logical right now.
I hate that you just beat me in this argument. I really hate that you won the debate.
I don't like this version of John.
Johnny Research is a dangerous fellow, let me tell you, man.
I don't like this. I don't like this.
I mean, I also think you picked, because there are times I think John will be too trusting of the media or whatever. Or whatever situation, but this ain't the one. You picked the wrong one because this is a little bit open and shut. And John did his research on this one. There are definitely times where John will just be like, "I just believe what's being told to me," and I'm like, "I think that's crazy," because I think like even in just regular everyday life, if you look at your own company, your own dealings, you realize that like nothing is ever at face value. There's always like a deeper story.
But I would disagree with that to an extent where I actually think because of people we deal with, usually it's like there's a little bit of a story here and there,
well,
but like
yeah.
it's like there's no like deep stuff. It's usually like, hey, don't mention this. Hey, don't say like it's not like
sure.
And we're it's not like we've dealt with pretty high powered profile people and I'm not saying we'd be in that circle of like fucking Illuminati or whatever it is, Dante, and but like we probably would have heard things and like I will give it to both of you that a lot of it is largely a defense mechanism, but like I think also largely people are just like, yeah, I don't know. It's pretty straightforward.
I feel like I've heard you say multiple times that you're like, I think most of like people are good, and I'm just like, I just can't disagree more with that.
Yeah, I do believe
or like
that.
I believe that like most people are telling the truth, and I'm just like, no fucking way.
To an extent. Not you're very rarely telling the full truth, but I think you're pretty rarely telling complete lies too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that like when I know that there's like shit behind closed doors that happen at low level bullshit walks of life. When you multiply that by just like a zillion, because you're talking about heads of state or technology or death, murder, whatever, I'm always thinking, there's probably more to the story than what you're being told. Now, whether it's like, in this case, like it's less to the story. You're being told less to the story because when you know the full story, it's like,
right. No, don't get me wrong. If you look at a headline, it is a very like, what the fuck? And I just read the article.
One or two sentences more. Yeah.
Kevin, you sound like such a conspiracy theorist. The government has nothing to hide. They have our best interest in mind all the time.
No. Well, also what I've learned is conspiracy theorists love the conspiracy theory and not the actual subject matter. And the aliens was like the biggest example of that. Epstein's a good example. Any of this stuff where they finally go, yes, here it is. Everyone just loses interest. Like they put out the Freedom of Information Act. You could go to that website right now and read like 3,000 pages on all of the information they have on extraterrestrials, where they're like admitting to some things, denying some things, but also being like, yes, we have otherworldly aircrafts. And people are like, well, what now? Because we liked that it was, they were hiding it. If there's no juicy secret, people lose interest immediately. Like the headlines are just like, well, okay, there's aliens. And nobody cares.
I totally agree. And that scares the shit out of me, because you remember how hard they went out of their way to keep all that a secret and disprove and discredit people and their stories. And now all of a sudden they're so forthcoming with it all that makes me scratch my head and say, what the fuck is going on?
I don't get that either. Yeah, why there was like a 50-year, smear campaign.
Right. That is frustrating as fuck, that once they come clean with it, everyone's just like, okay, what's the next
thing to yell about? I mean, when I was on this show like 2 or 3 episodes in a row being like, we should be talking about nothing other than the fact that they're kind of admitting they have aircrafts from other worlds and that they found biologics. And everyone's just like, did you see what Tom Sandoval said on Vanderpump Rules? And I was just like, okay, all right, I guess. And then even Epstein, it was like, here's the list. And it was not exactly a list that everyone thought it was going to be, like Billy Madison list with names. It was like, here's a name, all the people named in a lawsuit. Here's the people that were on this and not this. But it was like, here you go. And that nobody cared about that either. It's just they just want. It's the same thing as politics. You're not actually arguing about the issues. You're just mad at the people who disagree with you, and you're arguing because you want to be right and they want to be wrong. And except with the exception of a couple things that people actually feel passionately about, you're just arguing your party's lines, and you're not actually talking about the subject matter. It's all the whole fucking game is all smoke and mirrors.
I think you also, Dante, you think you deserve to know everything.
I would agree with that.
I don't think I'm owed explanations for things.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
That's why I'm like, I don't know, that's not my business. Like, everything is your business.
Don't you want to know some stuff? Don't you want to know?
Brother, let me stop you there. Dante, let me stop you there. Hey, his answer is no. Like, anytime we start getting philosophical, abstract, me and Jackie start talking about the simulation, and is this? But
the simulation isn't a thing.
Are we reincarnated? Are we reincarnated? Are we? Is there an afterlife and all that? And he goes, I don't care, man. And I'm just like, well, okay. I don't know what to say.
What are you living for?
Brother, that's the scary part. I don't.
Nothing, man. I'm just hanging out.
One day, he's gonna end up.
You're a dangerous man.
Why, dude? I'm just hanging here, man.
No. He's only dangerous to one person. He's gonna end up in an orange Dodge Ram one day. He'll never hurt anybody else, but there could be a point. His suicide letter will read like, "Just got bored."
Fucking Boeing did
it. What's the biggest mystery to you? You don't want cold.
Good question.
Evidence.
What do you think is the biggest mystery? What intrigues you? What makes you go whoa?
Even though we all know it was the CIA, you don't want confirmation that it was the CIA that killed Kennedy.
No. Yeah, he doesn't care about that. It blows my mind.
He's dead. Who cares?
Like to me, I'm like,
I don't believe you.
It's crazy. I know.
Like, if you told me, I'd say okay, but like he died 50 years ago.
I'd say okay. Like this dude, to me, it's crazy to think that like the best looking, youngest, suavest, most by some accounts, like gangster president who was embroiled in some heavy shit and was fucking bitches and all that, got his head blown off on TV in front of the world. And like, John, and we don't know really what happened, and John just like, nah, I don't know, man, whatever.
But like anyone
like,
who's responsible is dead or what? Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it's like, don't you like when you watch a movie, you're excited for like the twist at the end to reveal the information to learn what happened. You love a little gossip.
It does matter though, because
If you made a good JFK movie, well, I'd watch that.
It changed the course of history, and
But there's nothing I can do about it, Dante.
It's not mainly the reason, but it's partly the reason we're at where we are now. It sent this country down a terrible, terrible path.
It's all started with JFK.
Everything.
Yeah. Flesh that out.
Yeah.
Why are we here today because of JFK getting assassinated?
Yeah, I mean these agencies, and I mean the CIA just
like taking too much power,
out of control.
Yeah.
I mean this is a whole other episode. If
John's, I think John's thing too, though. Like I would argue, or I would say, coming from a pretty uninformed but just like my opinion, that like a lot of these agencies or the government in general does have too much power or exhibits too much power or influence or just meddles in our shit too much. But John is usually like, that does not affect me at all.
It's not even that it doesn't affect me. I'm sure in some way I don't know it does affect me.
Yeah.
But like me complaining about a podcast isn't gonna do anything.
Like the Patriot Act is a good example where like I think they took a lot of power. That seems to be like they took it. It was an opportunity for them to like take power. And John's like, well, I don't know. I just got to like take my shoes and my belt off at the airport. It's not that big of a deal. That's the level he views it at. And there are people who are like, it's impinging upon our freedom and our safety.
Yeah,
and John's like, I don't know. If I got to take my shoes off, like no big deal.
It's like, yeah, I'm going to this place. They have different rules there.
Part of me
Okay.
wants to strangle you. Part of me is so jealous.
Oh, it's the jealousy, man. He's not bothered. He's unbothered, bro. I'm telling you, in the end, John Feidelberg comes out like on top of Barstool. It's like the tortoise and the hare in a way, except instead of speed, it's like mentality. And it sounds funny because he'll be the first to tell you he's not exactly mentally stable either. But like even the biggest stars and the richest people and the people with the most power and popularity, like eventually they all end up in a ditch or crazy or in an insane asylum or they get assassinated. Fucking Dave gets murdered because he's getting into politics or who knows what. And eventually John just like crosses the finish line, like going like, I don't know, I just didn't think it was a big deal. It's crazy. It's Dan Soder has a bit on his new special about it, and we've talked about it too. A lot of people share this thought of like, I want to be like just dumb enough. I don't want to be dumb enough to be a burden, but I want to be dumb enough that I'm just like, what? I don't know. Like, let's go watch the game. Let's get a beer.
Aren't those the happiest people you know?
Totally.
No,
You don't think
now
so?
we're going too far.
You don't think so?
We're talking about me.
I had this conversation with some friends the other
We're talking about
day.
a guy who walks into the room and goes, they're getting faster and Fast and Furious.
I think
They're not all happy.
I think they are actually smarter than we are. We say they're dumber. I think they're smarter for going that route, wearing blinders, only worrying about like their small little world and none of the shit outside it. Because they're probably like, ignorance is bliss, right?
I wonder though, I feel like you need some people to worry about the big picture, I think, right? I don't know, maybe not. Like if everybody just stuck to their own shit and was like, I worry about my job and my family and my everyday life, would that society work, or do you need people who are like
exactly what the New World Order wants?
There it is.
And
There it is.
Exactly what you just said.
they want us to be like just worried
they
about
want
ourselves?
us to care for our families and friends and nothing else.
Yep. Stay in your 15-minute smart city and your own little bubble. Don't leave it, and you're good. On that note, I gotta leave.
All
It
right.
was great talking to you guys. Love you.
Later, bye. I love you
Psychopath.
too.